Welcome to the M.
Hello guys. Welcome to the first episode of our podcast called The M Word, and that M word is, of course, Michael. Music. It is about music. Today, for the first episode, we're going to be talking about music in education. So we'll talk about our journeys so far in music, and I think it's going to be a really good podcast. What do you reckon, Michael?
I think it's going to be brilliant.
All right,
Let's get started. Sat in the sun, it's a
right.
beautiful
So
day.
I know, glorious day, great
more
day to
could
be
you want?
talking about music.
Brilliant.
So the first thing I'm going to talk about with you guys today is my educational journey. So growing up, I was always interested in music. Did a lot of performing when I was a lot younger. At school, I didn't really enjoy music in terms of lessons at school in music too much. I did do GCSE music, but I didn't do A-level music because it wasn't an option, and so I sort of went away from music for a little while because of that. And now I'm here studying music at university with my friend Michael. And so that's sort of my journey in music. Michael, do you want to tell us a bit about growing up? How was music involved in your life, mate?
Pretty similar to some extent, I guess. Obviously, done it in school. I didn't do it at GCSE though. I've got a twin brother who was a lot more musical than me, but like he wanted to pursue it a bit more. I wasn't really sure how much I actually liked it, but we both been singing since a young age, putting on shows for family and stuff. And I was in like a couple of school shows in first school and high school as well. Did a few performances there, but never really like pursued it because I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do it. But I did have I had keyboard lessons in year 5 as well.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Obviously, being a twin, I'm not sure whether that was like because I actually wanted to do it or just because he was doing it, kind of thing. So, but it was something I felt like I wanted to do at the time.
Did you feel like a bit of pressure to be just as good as your brother? I suppose if you've got a twin and you're together all the time, if you're doing the same sort of things, there's always going to be that sort of competition. Do you reckon that's why?
That was probably part of it. Yeah, like I've probably seen him picking it up quicker than me, and I was just kind of like, well, don't even know if I really want to do.
So you found that a bit frustrating.
Yeah, but I probably should have stuck with it.
Okay.
Really helped me out with what I'm doing now.
And so after school, where did sort of music go for you?
Well, after school, obviously there was a lockdown in it, so
Yeah.
I had a while just like school was just completely knocked out. I was just like I don't even know what I want to do with myself now.
Yeah.
So then I was just working for a while, and then I just thought I want to go to uni, but I took a gap year to kind of really figure out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I didn't really figure anything out, so it's just like I love to sing, I love music, so I'll take a punt on this to see how it goes.
That's
and it's going really good so
that's
far.
brilliant. Yeah. So you're enjoying music at university so far?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. We're going to go into that a little bit later about talking about our musical journey at university. So something I want to talk about is the stuff they're actually teaching at the moment in GCSE music. We've got a little stat here, if you can get that up. So I'll tell you a bit about my journey at GCSE real quick. So I took GCSE music because I just enjoyed singing, and I played a bit of the piano from when I was younger. And I was sort of thinking there'd be a lot of freedom in terms of your creativity in the classroom. However, when it came to sort of looking at the exam and what sort of things you're going to be examined on, a lot of it was coursework, and a lot of it was just learning for an exam where you get 10 pieces of music. You have to memorise pretty much the whole song, talk about the staccato, and you've got a lot of technical things, and there wasn't too much composing at all, really.
Yeah, my brother was the same. He did GCSE music, and he mentioned that a few times. It was just kind of like more studying for an exam, a lot of coursework, like you said, rather than like actually funneling your creativity.
But when it was sort of advertised to us on open day for GCSEs, they made it sound like you'll be writing songs and doing all this sort of stuff, and there was only one module at the end of GCSE, which is a composing module, but even that is quite contained in what you can do.
Right. So what was your expectations going into the course then, compared to what it actually was?
I thought there'd be a lot more room for, if you are passionate about one thing, which I was at the time, which was probably mainly singing.
Yeah.
There wasn't any modules that I was allowed to sort of sing and be marked on well, and it was all sort of like, you've got to do your composure, your composition
Composition.
on Logic using these instruments, and it just felt
Yeah.
very contained. And it's not the reason why I went away from music, but it certainly
Put you off a little bit.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's just how I felt the classes. Everyone felt sort of the same about the classes, really. And yeah, the feeling wasn't good. And we've got a little stat here. We did some outside research before the podcast for you guys. And there's a graph. And at the start of 2008, the number of pupils taking GCSE music was about 55,000 students in the UK. And now in 2022, it's gone all the way down to about 33,000. So there's a significant
20,000. You read the wrong number. So 2022, it's gone down to just below 20,000.
No, sorry, that's females and males. So both females and males.
I see.
Sorry about that.
So I read it wrong.
32,000 students are now taking music.
Yeah.
Before it was more males taking music, but now it's more females.
Barely much separation though, really.
Yeah,
About
so
the
that's
same
quite
amount.
close. So yeah,
37.7% drop
so the
off.
drop off is significant. So it must mean that quite a lot of people are feeling the same way about how it's taught, the syllabus of it. And so yeah, that totally backs it up, really, doesn't it? But yeah.
And we've got a little stat about the percentage of grades achieved as well.
Oh, right.
In 2022, only 44% achieved a grade 7 to 9 or A to A star in 2022, compared to 50% in 2021, 46% in 2020, 32% in 2019. So the grades have kind of average gone up.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Well, maybe they've made that easier to look more appealing to students to take
Maybe
it. Do you know
with
what I
the
mean?
shift from the letters to numbers, the grade boundaries made it easier to kind of get into those higher grade
Yeah,
boundaries.
which is going to be more appealing to students,
Yeah.
because there's even more pressure on getting the better grades now, because it's getting so competitive in sort of the job markets and stuff, universities, stuff like that. So yeah, that was my experience with GCSE music. You didn't take GCSE music, did you?
No.
And why was that?
We've already spoke about this.
Oh right, sorry. we're backtracking here. Let's keep going. So what could they do to make it better? Well, firstly, I think something I already talked about, a bit more freedom. So if you're taking GCSE music and you love playing the drums, there should be more opportunity for you guys to play the drums and
more like
do
specialisation within the course
a part
rather
of
than
your-
generalisation. That makes sense.
and do that part. Yeah, absolutely. Because the last thing a drummer wants to be doing is sitting on a MIDI keyboard for 90% of his lessons trying to compose for something that he's not passionate about.
Yeah, I think there's so many different parts of music that trying to generalise it in one course is difficult. I think.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to kind of tailor to the different styles and different genres, different needs of the children based on their creativity and what they play. And
Yeah,
stuff
100%.
like
And another thing I'd probably change would be the music that was put that in the exam you'd have to talk about, because a lot of the music was old music. We're talking 18th century old orchestral pieces that most students just aren't that interested in anymore. I can understand maybe a couple just so you can see the progression of music and absolutely all of that.
But not having every single
No,
piece.
most of them were just, all about that. And it really disengaged a lot of students. And I think they lost a lot of interest through that, definitely.
I think another way they can make it better is kind of start it off earlier. I think music isn't really integrated well enough in lower years for people to really explore that kind of creativity. And I feel like it's kind of frowned upon amongst a lot of kids. I feel like if you're one of those kids that's into music in school, you're more often than not going to get bullied for it.
Yeah.
And I think they need to change the kind of stigma around that you know, music is not a like weird thing to be doing. Like everyone's got some sort of musical ability. I think. And
music's everywhere.
You've got to be allowed to explore it and do it in creative ways from an earlier age. I think to see if
So
people can find that inspiration
You-
and move on.
You think that should be more integrated in sort of primary schools and that sort of
Yeah, I
nursery?
think so.
You think music should be more of a focus?
Yeah,
So
because
it's-
you don't know how many people have got some sort of musical ability that just don't really know it or haven't really had the opportunity to explore it, especially if they come from poorer families.
Yeah.
Because tuition, which we'll go on to
Well,
in a
yeah,
second,
going on
is
to
a
that
lot more
now.
expensive.
Yeah. So in terms of tuition, when I was younger, I had piano lessons from when I was 7 up until about 15, and then I just sort of decided to go my own way because I felt like I had a good base knowledge of the piano and I could concentrate more on doing sort of the pieces that I wanted instead of learning the pieces for exams, and I just felt it was a bit forced. And so, but I think it was really important for me to get that sort of foundation for the piano and voice. I did have a few singing lessons, but not too many growing up, and it really helped actually. Did you have any sort of tuition when you were younger, Michael?
Apart from the keyboard lessons that we touched upon earlier, not really. I think probably did that for maybe the majority of year 5, so when I was about 9 or 10,
Yeah.
and then kind of gave up with that a bit because I was feeling like I was doing it because I had to, not because I wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, because it's so expensive. You kind of, if your parents are paying that much money for it, it's kind of like you feel like you have to do it
Yeah.
for them rather than yourself.
Yeah,
That
no,
makes sense. Like,
100%.
I feel like that was the situation I was in.
So you're saying you felt like there was almost pressure on you.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Also because being a twin, that as well. Like there was a pressure on me to kind of keep up with him, do what he was doing,
Yeah.
and also the pressure from your parents for paying that money for it because it's not cheap.
Do you think that there should be more accessible lessons to students who might be interested in the drums, but say maybe they can't afford it or it's not an option for them?
Yeah, I mean any
growing up?
instrument, like
Yeah.
private tuition is always it's always expensive.
Yeah.
And the schools don't get the funding to really go into too much depth to,
No.
to give lessons like that. So
Yeah.
it would always like take up like a lunchtime or a break time or after school. Like it's never really. I think if they could like put proper lessons within school somehow, I think that would
Well,
be really beneficial.
an idea that I had is that when you're sort of in year 7, it's of course mandatory to have music lessons. Then what they should do is introduce different instruments to students. Just have sort of a play around and just see if
What
they're
grabs their attention.
Yeah, absolutely, and just give them an option instead of just sticking them all in a room and
Giving them a keyboard and maybe
yeah.
a guitar.
yeah,
But there's
yeah,
so many
yeah.
more instruments. Like
Yeah.
give them more to choose from.
Absolutely.
But then also that's more expensive, and then
Yeah.
you've got to find specialised teachers if they find.
And absolutely,
find
and
interest
we're
in
seeing a
specific-
decline in interest in GCSE music and stuff like that, so they're going to get less funding.
Yeah, I think that just comes with the fact that it seems like they're trying to almost phase it out. I mean, we got a quote down here somewhere from Jeff Barton, the General Secretary of
Good
Association
old Jeff.
of School and College Leaders, and he said that there's a danger some of these subjects will largely disappear from the state education system and become persevere only if families who are wealthy enough to afford private schools, which kind of touches on what we were saying already, like the expensive tuition. Like that's the only way the music is going to be continued, because it seems like they're trying to phase it out
Yeah.
almost,
No,
because it's not as
definitely.
important as like sciences or maths and all stuff like that to the government at
Yeah.
least.
No, 100%. So yeah, definitely music tuition for the future. If there was a more accessible way for students to have that, we think that would be absolutely massive
Yeah.
and change it. Moving on, so we're going to talk about music in university. So me and Michael were both on the popular music course in University of Gloucestershire. We're coming to the end of our second year now. How have you found that, Michael?
It's good. I thought the first year was really exciting. Obviously, something new, bunch of fresh faces.
Yeah.
We got a lot of opportunities very quickly. And I feel like one of my downsides to this is that the second year is more kind of, they seem to kind of leave you to yourself a bit more and kind of focus on getting you to sort out all your own stuff, which I guess is like fair enough. Like kind of focusing on the first years like every year, like giving them the opportunities. I think like a mixture between first to third years, like blending them all together a bit more within
Yeah.
some projects would be pretty cool.
I mean, some people will prefer that, and some people won't prefer that.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't cater easily to everybody. Can you?
No, but I think they've done, personally, I think they've done it right. So the first year they sort of introduced us as working in groups and trying to make us work with so many different people with different skill sets. And then second year, definitely, I agree with you. They've sort of left us to do it on our own a little bit, which can be daunting.
I feel like that's also partially because, like, after first year, like, whether it's like sometimes like cliques form. Do you know what I mean? Like, people kind of pick their own groups and kind of don't sway out of those, really.
Yeah, definitely.
If
And
that makes
I
sense.
feel I'm a little bit part of that. I'm a very routinist, and I'll stick to my comfort zone in terms of, because performing can be quite daunting. And so working with someone you haven't worked before, or and all of that, it can be daunting. And so me and you, we've worked on a lot of projects this year and last year together. But yeah, I definitely do agree with you. It's very easy to get stuck in a routine with the same people and not challenge yourself, really. And that's what we're here for.
That's
we're
what
here.
I'm looking forward to next year, though, because we've had a few talks with some lecturers and stuff, and they've kind of said that they're looking to maybe introduce more kind of flowing throughout the courses, like through the years.
Yeah.
You know, like even mixtures with different music courses and stuff, and putting us in kind of projects where we can all work with different year groups and different courses and stuff. It sounds exciting.
Definitely. Do you think that the university has challenged you musically, your skill as a musician?
Yeah, I think so.
You do?
Yeah.
How do you think they do this well? Do you think they give you enough freedom to work on what you're actually passionate about, or is it like when we mentioned about GCSE where it's quite enclosed?
I think it's definitely a lot more open than it is at GCSE.
Yeah.
Because there's like, you do about 8 modules within a year, so there's a lot of different opportunities for stuff.
Yeah.
But obviously there's going to be some that you don't really fancy that much, but it's not easy to kind of give you everything that you want. Is that, like, there's a lot of good group work though, like there's mixing about different groups and making cool stuff with other people is always
No,
good.
100%. I completely agree with that. I feel like university has given me the freedom to create the sort of music I want to do, perform the sort of music I want to do, and it's a much better feeling because you've got a lot of students that are all engaged and really passionate about their own music, and you don't get that in earlier education, I feel.
That's the difference, is everyone's there for kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in school you're kind of almost ridiculed for being into the music stuff, I think.
Yeah,
At least that was my experience in school.
100%, yeah, definitely. And I feel that they've got this course down really well. I think 3 years is just the right amount that I'd want to be studying this, otherwise it'd get a bit repetitive. There's lots of different opportunities that you get through university. Like I've got some work experience coming up at a festival that I wouldn't have got if I wasn't here at university. So that's exciting, and it will give you a lot more opportunities after you come out of university to get a job in the music industry, I feel like, whereas if you weren't with this organisation, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so they give you a good opportunity to make networks and stuff, don't they?
No, yeah, definitely. Right, so overall, Michael, after our discussion about music in education, what would we change? What if we were the CEOs of music in education? what would we change? What would we do? So we talked about in earlier education, maybe primary school or nursery.
I think that's the main important thing for me.
Okay.
I think that's probably the first thing you've got to do, is kind of start it off at a younger age.
Yeah.
And kind of flesh out that creativity from an earlier age and kind of inspire people from younger. Because I think if I'd have got that, I would have been more like sure
Yeah.
if this is what I wanted to do or not. Whereas I was kind of just like, oh, I kind of like it. I'll go see what that's about.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I completely agree with that. Because if it feels more norm as a younger child, it's definitely going to be more norm for when you get sort of secondary school and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
And it'll make people more.
You'll have more
like
experience from earlier on
100%.
without having to spend a load of money.
Obviously, we talked about GCSE going down in participants, and I think they've just got it completely wrong. I think that there needs to be a lot more freedom, a lot more choice in what you can do at GCSE music. I understand that there's got to be sort of an exam board, and you've got to have set exams and a way of monitoring this,
Mhm.
but there's a reason why the numbers are going down. It's because the course is not engaging enough.
And I think it's because they're favouring the other courses, the more kind of academic ones.
So you think they're sort of pushing music out?
I think so.
There's
Whether
not-
intentionally or not, I think it is happening.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see from the numbers,
yeah,
whether it's intentional or not, there's definitely some sort of kind of reduction of music going on.
no, I
But I
completely
think
agree.
it's important to get it back up there because music is so important in everyday life, in
Yeah.
everybody's life, whether people like realise how much it influences them or not. It's everywhere. Like music, is it films, games, like TV is like it's everywhere.
Yeah, no, 100%. And then we've got the music in universities, and I think absolutely this is the best part of music in education. I think they've got this down to a T. They let you sort of express yourself musically the way you want to express yourself. You're given freedom, but you're also given so much help. And yeah, definitely, I think
A lot of the lecturers are professionals themselves. They're in the
Yeah.
industry themselves, so
huge point there.
it's
They've
straight
been there,
up
done
knowledge
that.
from them. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that was our first little episode
Hope you enjoyed.
about music in education. I hope you found that quite interesting. Let us know in the comments below what is your experience with music in education, and yeah, we'll try and reply to those. Look out for episode 2 coming very soon. It should be at the same time as our episode 1 because we're going to do 2 episodes to start off, so you get a little feel for the
Spoiling
podcast.
everyone.
I know, absolutely. So yeah, can't wait to see you in episode 2. Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers.